Ambitious women, this is what it normally looks like. You end your workday, you've done everything you're supposed to do, and then you log out, you drive home, or you end your workday in whatever way that looks like for you. And then you have nothing left. You have no energy to cook yourself a meal. You have no desire to call your good girlfriend back who's been texting you all week. You have no interest in doing anything that is actually for you, if you even know what that is anymore. And you've just given everything you have to work. And if you're honest with yourself, what you have left over, those little crumbs that's dried up in the corner, is not much at all. But my question for you is, how long are you going to keep living like that? If you want to get out of that loop, keep watching. If you're new here, I'm Erica Prevail, and I talk about lifestyle redesign. I talk about modern work culture. I talk about how I cured myself from corporate brain rot after career burnout. I talk about wellness, and I also talk about creativity. And today is a special episode because this is episode 1 of a 4-part series that I'm doing called 4 Reasons Your Life Does Not Feel Like Yours Anymore, and how to fix all of that. And if what I just described in the intro sounds like you definitely need to keep watching. Because in episode 1, we are starting off with the thing that I think most ambitious women feel the most. And that's around your time, your energy, and your capacity. My tea of the day, which is at the perfect temperature right now, is, what is this? This is vanilla honey chamomile. And it's very, very light and yummy. So let's get into it. This video is going to be a little bit different from my other videos because, like I said, I'm doing this as a 4-part series to really help you get down to the nitty gritty and introduce something that I've been working on to really help you really visualize the areas to help you get out of this loop and start redesigning your life in the area that is the most impactful for you, or in the area your life needs the most attention. So what I really want to let you know is this loop does not happen overnight. It does not happen from having one bad day at work. It does not happen from having one busy week at work. It does not come from having one exhausting quarter at work. This happens when this way of living becomes a pattern. It becomes just your habit, just your everyday way of living. And what it looked like for me was waking up at 6 a.m. every single morning, and the first thing I was reaching for was my phone to start answering emails, work emails, before my feet even hit the floor. That's what it looked like for me. Going to work, doing all of the things that I had to do as a leader in healthcare, like doing all of the things, and then coming home and still working, answering emails until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. It also looked like when I was on vacation or PTO days, still working, still being available. I'm sure you can relate because so many ambitious women that I've talked to, that I've been in community with, that I've worked with, have lived in this same pattern. And it worked for us to some degree because we achieved some level of success. But underneath all of that, our lives did not feel like ours, and we were unwell. To say the least. And that's why I'm having these kind of conversations. And that's why I wanted to dedicate a 4-part series to this thing specifically, because what I have found out is that ambitious women have become incredibly intentional about building their careers, but not nearly as intentional about building their lives. And then my experience was I woke up one day and this success, and my life didn't feel like mine, because actually it really wasn't. We've gotten really good at managing our lives, but how are you with actually living your life? That is the real question. And my sabbatical gave me this space to really think about things this way, but you don't need a sabbatical to start redesigning your life. You don't need that. But what I wanted to do in this series is really break it down for you and show you the 4 buckets that I had to look at in my life to start redesigning my life and doing things differently. So, what I had to do was, I'm going to put it up on the screen in a moment, but I had to kind of reverse engineer it, because over the last several weeks, I've just been really thinking about a lot of things, and a lot of this clarity and thinking came as a result, a continued result of the 7 days of silence that I've did. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back and watch that video. The title is When Hard Things Start Getting Even Harder, or something like that. But the clarity and the revelation that I continue to have from that is the result of this 4-part series. So I sat down and I thought, like, Erica, what did you actually do to start changing your life? Because again, when I was doing this, I didn't have a framework. I didn't have a strategy. I was going through things with a lot of trial and error. So when I just sat down and wrote in voice note and just brain dumped all the things that I had done and the moves that I made and the pivots and the strategies and the things that I paid attention to, the patterns that I noticed fell into 4 buckets. And when I wrote it all down, I kept coming back to the same 4 areas. And today, what I call them are the 4 life layers. And they are now the lens in which I will help other women identify what areas of their life needs the most attention first. Now, again, today we're starting with the layer of time, energy, and capacity, which you just saw on the screen. And there are 4 other layers. And again, there is no first, second, third, fourth. It's you. Based on how I describe these things to you, you can determine what area of your life needs the most attention first, and you will start there. So again, get your pens, get your paper, get your notes app, because we're going to get into some things. Now, what I had to do was, goodness, something felt like it just bit me. What I had to do was, I knew that I could not go back to the way that I was working and living before. If you don't know, just very briefly, I was in corporate healthcare leadership. I was making 6 figures, 5-figure bonuses, leading, strategizing, negotiating, building, doing all of the things that we do as ambitious women. I burnt out, left the role, went on sabbatical, healed my mind and body. When I was ready to go back to work, I was like, Erica, what we cannot do is go back into that the way we left. And this is where the work began. This is where it began. And what I told myself was, things are going to have to look different. Things are going to have to work for you. You're going to have to stop. You're going to have to start making what I call me decisions, because if you're anything like me, which I'm sure you have some similarities, we've made so many decisions for everybody else but ourselves. And this is how we've ended up in this place that we are right now. I'll just leave it at that. So the first thing, and also because I have in my notes here, because girl, I be having to have these notes because sometimes I can get to talking and get off track. But I also believe that we have been trained, particularly in corporate America, to keep going, even when our bodies tell us to slow down or stop. And we know it. We know that our bodies are saying, hold on, girl. We need a break, tapping us on our shoulder. But we've been trained to keep going and going and going, even when we know it's time to take a pause or stop. So the first area that I had to look at in my life, again, there's no order for you, this is just the one that I'm talking about first, was time, energy, and my capacity. Before I made any other decisions about work or my life or how I was going to move forward, I had to look at these three things. And what that looked like for me was, when we talk about time, not just how much do we have of it or what we're doing with it, because I know that's what people tend to think about most. It was like having, when it comes to work, like having clear start and stop time, because I know, especially when you're in leadership, but even if you're an individual contributor or you're working on a team, things can kind of get blurry, very, very blurry, especially for many of us who work from home, or even if you work, or even if you work in the office. When the things get blurry, oh, can you come in a little bit early? Can you stay a little bit late? And the lines really get blurry when you're working from home, because, well, they can get blurry when you're working from home because you're at home. You can just keep working, keep working, keep working. So I had to make it very clear that there would be a stop time and a start time. Because when I was in my corporate leadership role, girl, there was no stopping or no starting. The stopping and the starting was when I woke up and when I went to sleep. That was the starting and the stopping. So we were definitely not doing that anymore. And not in a means to like be so rigid, but as a means to protect your time. That is what this is for, having a stop and start time for your protection. And I had to find a role where that would be possible. And I did that. I mean, I talked about this in great detail in other videos, but I found a role that would fit that. And I was just very intentional about doing so. And when your work never has an ending, then your life really doesn't have a beginning. So again, when it comes to time and having that clear start and stop time, it's not about being so rigid that you can't, offer support or do or help someone in any way. It's about protecting that space for you. And that's the whole point of this. It's not about being selfish. It's not about being too rigid. It's about protecting that space for you. And when it came to energy, girl. During that time of my life in my corporate leadership career, I swear I was working 10-hour days most days, because again, the lines were just very, very blurry. Like, I was in a role where I had to go into the office every day. But still, in the mornings, like I said, I would wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. already checking emails. I would do that. Then I would get ready for work. Then I would drive to work, which was about 45 minutes to an hour at that time. Get to work, work 8 hours in the office, go home and still be like answering emails, answering calls, like doing all of the things. And when I got home, I had like no energy left for myself. And to make things worse, I was drinking a lot of wine to like wind down or calm down. I wasn't eating the best. I was not really living. Like me and my partner would have date nights and spend time together. I would hang out with my friends, but it still didn't feel fully lived in, if that makes sense to you. I was resting, but not really resting. I was connecting, like I said, with friends and family, but it really didn't feel fully lived. And when I say I was resting, but not really resting, what I want to make a point about is, first of all, there are 7 types of rest. And I talk about rest often in my videos. But going beyond just physical rest, and before we even go into that, understanding that rest and recovery are 2 different things. And most of us aren't resting. I wasn't resting, I was recovering. And that's probably what you're doing too. And the difference is rest gives you something back. Recovery just gets you back to the baseline. So you're drained, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're all of the things. What you're calling rest, maybe lounging on the couch, maybe doing whatever it is that you call resting, doom scrolling, whatever you call resting is really just recovering. It's getting you back to the baseline. And that's why when you rest on the weekends and then go back to work, you still feel exhausted because you really have not rested. You've just recovered just to get you back to baseline enough to go back to work and continue to be in this loop. And think about it this way. When you have like a surgery or you've had some kind of illness or you've gotten sick, they call it recovery. You go home and recover, because again, you're waiting for, if you had a surgery, for that place to heal. You're waiting, if you broke a bone, you're waiting for that bone to set and to heal. You're waiting for the thing to get back to the baseline, to the starting point. But when you're resting, that's like giving you something back. It's filling you up. It's like overflow. And that's what I think a lot of women have difficulty differentiating between, because rest is one thing and recovery is another. So probably the times that you say that you're resting, you're really just recovering. And there is a great difference between rest and recovering. And for me, I was never really resting, girl. I was just recovering, and you probably feel the same. And I'm not going to get into it here, but there are 7 different types of rest. Rest goes beyond just physical rest, and understanding that and understanding what each type of rest is and what each type of rest gives you also helps you feel more rested and filled up and actually restored, not just recovered. And then when it comes to capacity, I also had to evaluate my capacity. And I started looking at capacity much, much differently. Most people think about capacity in the means of, can I do this? Like, do I have the ability to do this? Can I take this on? And while that is an element of capacity, what I now look at capacity is, does this thing deserve access to my time and energy at this time? And I think that goes a lot deeper. So before I say yes to anything, when I evaluate my capacity, it's not just, Erica, can you do this right now? Like, do you have the ability to do it or the skills to do it, which we often do? It's, does this thing deserve access to my time and energy at this time? And that filter really helps me ground into my capacity much, much more versus just, can I do this? So capacity isn't just whether you can take this on. Capacity now looks like, does this thing deserve access to my time and energy right now? And I think looking at capacity in that way, again, just helps, first of all, gets you clearer on if you can really do this thing right now, take on this extra work, take on this project, lead this initiative, whatever that may look like. But does it deserve access to your time and energy at this time? And if you're in a place where you want to start interrupting some of these loops, the ambition reset is something that can help you start noticing the patterns. It's linked in the description box. Check it out if you're interested in it. And like I said before, I didn't discover any of these things until I went on my sabbatical and I had the time to really sit stop. Like, girl, put on the full brakes and really start looking at things this way. And I'm saying this because I'm gonna always be honest. But what I do know is that you don't need a sabbatical to start doing this. You can start making small intentional steps now, today, to start thinking about how you're gonna start moving in your life, in your work differently. And again, that's why I'm doing this 4-part series, so you can look at which part your life needs attention in most right now and start there. Start there. And what I've always said before is, I'm not here to give you all the answers. No one can give you all the answers about your life. This is about getting curious enough to start asking yourself different questions about your life, start noticing, start interrupting those patterns, and then start making intentional me decisions to move forward. Me decisions, me decisions, me decisions. I want you to get that in your vocabulary. I want you to make me decisions. Stop looking for these copy and paste solutions to your life and start making decisions for you. I said it in a past video. There is nothing wrong with reading the books, listening to the podcast, hiring the coaches, watching YouTube videos like this one. But when those become your primary strategies, instead of using them as secondary strategies or supplemental strategies, that's when things start to get a little murky. I want you to get curious about your life again. We have been handed all the copy and paste templates and solutions in our corporate careers, and they worked. They did. That's why we continue to look for them in our personal lives. But when we do that, we are handing over our decision-making skills to someone else. And we have to think about this way. We are not asking for someone to help us build a website or help us fix our credit or someone to come over and fix your dishwasher. We're talking about your life. So we cannot be handing over our decision-making skills to someone else to give us the answer for our lives. We cannot do that. I want to tell you a quick story because this just recently happened. I was just speaking with someone who I'm in community with, and she is navigating many of the things that I've described here today in this video. And she said something that really just stuck with me. And I've said it before, and I've heard a lot of other ambitious women say it before, and it breaks my heart every time I hear an ambitious woman say this. But she said, when we were having conversation, I just want somebody to give me the steps. I just want somebody to just tell me what to do. And, I let her talk because I always want to give people, space. And I'm a very good listener. I think that's one of the key things of being an introvert. That's one of my strengths. I'm a much better listener than I am a yapper. But when she said that, she was just, again, she was like, I just want somebody to give me the steps. I just want somebody to, basically, she didn't say this, but it's basically she wants someone to make the decision for her. And again, I thought this way many years ago, and so many ambitious women think this way as well. But it breaks my heart because, and I know why we think this way, and I know why we want this solution, because again, it worked for us in corporate America. Our mentors, our teachers, our bosses, all of the people, they gave us the best practices. They gave us the SOPs. They gave us the roadmaps. They gave us the things, and the things worked. They gave us a level of success, but we cannot do that when it comes to our own lives. When we hand over our decision-making skills, our autonomy to somebody else about our lives, and we think that it's going to fit us perfectly. Like, huh? I just, it doesn't work. Again, there is nothing wrong with the coaches, the support, the strategists. I'm a strategist. The books, the courses, the podcast, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to make it clear that when we are seeking those things as our primary strategies, instead of looking inward and asking ourselves hard questions, that's when the misalignment comes in, and that's when we stay in this loop, because we're letting other people make decisions about about our lives that really only we can make. So I know you're probably saying, Erica, okay, you're talking all about this. So what do I actually do? When it comes to the layer of time, energy, and capacity, you know I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I am not going to leave you empty-handed. What I want to do is I want to give you some questions to ask yourself, to really get to that deeper layer, to get curious, and to start thinking about things differently. So I want you to, if you have not already done so, I want you to get your pen, your pencil, your pad, your voice notes, your notes app, whatever you need to do to take notes, because I'm going to give you some questions. Also, if you've made it to this section of the video, drop the pencil icon in the chat, or drop the notes, like that paper icon, in the chat, just so I know that you've made it this far in the video. So I'm going to leave you with 4 questions and 2 bonus questions. And this isn't to overwhelm you or anything like that. It's to help you start getting curious about your own life, specifically in this layer of time, energy, and capacity. So question 1, when you look at your day honestly, and you're going to be honest with yourself with these questions, because only you are looking at the questions right now, and only you can answer these questions. So when you look at your day honestly, not your calendar, but how you actually spent your time, how much of it genuinely belongs to you? Not when you're recovering from work, or not the time that you've given to everybody else and every other responsibility, but how much actually belongs to you. Question number 2, you already know where your energy is going in your work. The work, the responsibilities, the initiatives, the team, all of the things. You know where your energy is going. But the harder question is, are you continuing to give it to yourself in the life that you're currently living, or the life that you desire to live? So are you giving your energy to the life that you built years ago, or the life that you know that you want to start building, start creating, start redesigning? Okay. Question number 3. Before you take on anything, are you asking whether it deserves access to you right now? Again, that's how I gauge my capacity. Not just can you take this thing on, but does it deserve access to your time and your energy right now? Maybe it doesn't right now. Maybe you can get to it next week or next month. But really asking yourself that question, engaging your capacity in that way. And question number 4, if you stripped everything from your calendar that belonged to work, other people, to your responsibilities, what's left that belongs to you? And if the answer is nothing or very little, when did you stop making time for yourself? Actually think about that. Think about, when did you stop actually making time for yourself and giving it to everybody else. Again, this is all about getting curious about your life and asking yourself different questions, questions that you probably have not asked yourself before. Asking yourself these questions create a noticing. The noticing interrupts the pattern, and interrupting the pattern allows you to make me decisions, decisions that help you start to move in a way that is aligned with your vision, your goals, your values. And that's how you start redesigning your life. 2 quick bonus questions. Instead of asking, how do I fix all of this? What do I do? How do I fix it? Ask yourself, what is this season asking of me? That's a much deeper question and something for you to just sit there and think about and ponder on. Not how do I fix this, but what is this season of life asking of me? And another bonus question, instead of asking, why am I so exhausted? Ask yourself, why am I continuing to give my time and energy to things that no longer fit the life I'm trying to build or the life that I want to build? Okay? Okay. And I want you to know this, and I'm going to say this holding your hand, but you have become an expert at everyone else's ideas and strategies, but you have become a stranger to your own. And in this 4-part series, we're going to be really looking at the 4 layers. I'm calling them the 4 life layers that helped me start to move the curtain back, look under the hood and say, these are areas that I'm going to have to really look at, really uncover, really ask myself different questions to start redesigning my life and moving through the way that I work and live much, much differently. And also, like I said before, if you're interested in the Ambition Reset, it's linked down in the comments. But as I go through this 4-part series, I'm still thinking about it. So let me know if this is something that you're interested in, like maybe some type of a guide or some type of a quiz that helps you identify what layer needs your attention most, some type of resource. If you're interested in something like that, just put yes down in the chat for me. I'm not sure what that will look like at this time, but I want to be able to support you in a way that really helps you move forward in alignment, ask yourself deeper questions, interrupt those patterns, and start making me decisions for your life and your work. Start making those me decisions and stop looking for a copy and paste templates that belong to someone else. If this has resonated with you in any way, if this has blessed you in any way, like this video, drop me some comments, and stay here for episode 2 in this 4-part series I'm calling 4 reasons your life doesn't feel like yours and what to do about it and how to fix it. I'll see you in episode 2. Bye.